let's take a look at what other people were saying as far as when Joni got married, okay? This was an issue with some of the people who were, following Joni, and rightfully so, okay? So this is what one person had put out, okay? And she put out here, I'm going to read it out to you guys because the font is so tiny. And this person put out, "Dear Joni, I love you and your family very much. But when you introduced Doug, I got a huge check in my spirit. I do not believe this is from the Lord. I can see that you are a very vulnerable, and he knows this. I'm sorry, but this is not from the Lord. I do not see you with him at all. I was totally shocked it was him. Please make sure you have a prenup agreement, or you could destroy everything that your family through the Lord has created. I can't believe that any of your friends or even Jimmy Evans can't discern this, or maybe they are afraid to tell you. You are a very beautiful lady, very special, and your family. This man is wrong for you. Please take more time and things will be revealed. I'm one of your great partners." So these are the people who were sharing with Joni, right, when she got married to Doug Weiss. Because it looks like ever since Doug Weiss came into the picture, it looks like there was trouble at Daystar. To me, is what I can assess over here. So now let's take a look at what other people who have closely followed Daystar, what they are saying. Okay, what they are saying in this matter. This is Joni. Okay, this is her right here. Her name is Candy Chan. Okay, "For the love of money is the root of all evil." A Daystar story. Hang on tight. This unveiling won't be pretty. It's dark and disturbing. So if you're not up for it, I understand. Full disclosure, I've watched the Christian television network Daystar for years. I love some of the shows, others not so much. But let me be clear, I do not have a personal axe to grind, not at all. This story was generated from my encounter with Suzy Lamb last summer. Soon after our meeting, my heart broke over disclosure of grave injustices and disturbing secrets. Okay? So, this person will be sharing the information that she got from Suzy Lamb. Okay? So, let's continue. All right. It says, "And for the record, everything she shared with me is verifiable by detailed documentation, including police reports, screenshots, as well as multitude of video and audio recordings, of which I've seen and heard." Okay? So, this, if what this lady is saying, right, if you have videos, you have recordings, you have screenshots, those can serve as independent line of evidence, okay? Because you can hear, you can read, you can see. But we continue, okay? I'm concerned that after writing this piece, I'll be in the crosshairs of Daystar, a powerful international television ministry that boasts they're worth $1 billion. Sure, a little bit. But at this point, I honestly don't care. The bottom line is I refuse to live in fear of incoming threats from powerful entities or by internal terror that if I speak up, the sky might fall and crush me beyond existence. Instead, I'll lean on my faith while adhering to the wisdom from the Latin phrase, I cannot even pronounce that, so I'll leave it be. Let justice be done through the heavens fall. Okay, I'm glad she translated that. So, for those waiting to read on, here's the story in a nutshell. And we begin. Suzy Lamb is married to Jonathan Lamb, who is the son of Daystar founders Marcus and Joni. The problems began in 2020, when Jonathan and Suzy had reason to believe a 5-year-old child was being They went on to the police and filed a general report, not knowing the identity of the perpetrator. A few months later, they were convinced that man was an on-air Daystar personality. Woo! Guys, But when they shared their discovery, Joni made it clear, and I quote, God told her he was innocent, so they must drop the subject immediately. Okay? So we are very familiar with Daron Lamb. Every time something happens, she always rushes to say that word, God told her. Okay? So God has already spoken in his word. But we continue. As tensions grew, Jonathan and Suzy were sent out of state for quote-unquote counseling and ordered to apologize to the man for suggesting he am a little girl. Oh, my God. Daron Lamb, man. Oh. We continue. Then Marcus Lamb suddenly passed away. Marcus Lamb is a father to Jonathan Lamb, okay, who was a husband to Daron Lamb. And Jonathan, who was already a member of the board, became the vice president of DayStar. A year and a half later, John married Doug Weiss, a marriage counselor and a frequent DayStar guest who had recently left his wife of over 30 years. Okay, we have Doug Weiss. We'll feature him at the end. Doug is a man, by the way, who once blurted out on Christian television that Christ died so we can have great blasphemy and heresy. Okay? Christ died so you can be reconciled to God. He died for your sins. Okay? He is the one who designed, he created the earth to be enjoyed in the context of marriage. But that's not why he died. But we continue. And before you ask, no, I'm not kidding. In addition, he notably said, you can have what? A cursed pea? Or you can have a blessed pea? I'm disturbed. And he followed it up by reading a scripture while randomly injecting the word pea into the biblical text. You know, I wasn't expecting to read that, guys. Okay, you know, in my lifetime, I've heard some crazy theology, but I honestly just can't with this man. One day, Jonathan noticed what he believed were serious financial improprieties at the ministry, and he began to ask questions. Among other expenditures, he was alarmed by approximately 100,000 billed to DayStar for Joni and Doug's 1-week honeymoon. Yes, this is actually true, okay? I have, we're going to feature something, these finances. The way these people are messing around with people's money. People are donating, thinking like, okay, these people are out here, quote unquote, doing good work. Are they doing good work? I'm sure. But they are living luxurious lifestyle. But we continue. No. Why are you billing? That's your private... Your honeymoon, that's your private thing. What does that got to do with DayStar? A church, because that's what it is, right? So can you imagine your pastor at your church takes church money to go for his honeymoon? And he's still coming back as your pastor at your church? Because they say DayStar is a church. We have more on that. Hang on tight, guys. Thank you for being here. Be sure to subscribe, okay? And like this video. But we continue. And nope, that's not a mathematical typo. That's an actual Kardashian-style 6-figure vacation. I agree. From the beginning, Joni's marriage to Doug had created great tension. But Joni was adamant anyone who did not approve of the union would be banished from DayStar, including immediate family members. And then it happened. They caught, read the card or else, showdown. One morning, moments before airtime, Jonathan and Suzy refused to recite a note praising Doug correspondence that was supposedly sent in by a viewer, offering what felt like a public endorsement. Went against their religious principles and was something they said they would never do. But that didn't sit well with Joni. Okay, you see? Doug is introduced to the family. Doug left his wife to join in to this DayStar empire. Now, all of a sudden, there's tension in the family, issues in the family. But we continue, guys. Consequently, Jonathan and Suzy disappeared from television. Their show was cancelled. And despite public outcry, their on-air appearances came to a screeching halt. And in response, staff were directed to tell viewers they were both on sabbatical. That was a lie. This is a Christian network. The audience are so used to seeing Jonathan and Suzy. You know, like how, you're so used to the people you like to watch on TV. All of a sudden, they just disappear. And the story you're hearing is sabbatical. Okay, sooner or later, the sabbatical has to come to an end. Why are you lying to the audience? The audience that's actually funding the Daystar. They're funding the network. But we continue. Fair warning. Before I go further, let me give you the word of the day. And that word is, quote-unquote, submit. In this context, submission will be used in a highly manipulative, cowardice way and repeated more than you can likely tolerate. All right, guys, bless yourself, brace yourself. We are going in. We are going in. We continue. In response to Jonathan and Suzy's growing concerns, Joni brought in Minister Jimmy Evans as a mediator of sorts. In a rather fiery exchange, he admonished the couple to either quit or stop pursuing issues of conscience, insisting they were married employees who were in no position to question Joni. Jimmy, who are you? Why can't Jonathan question the things that are in contradiction with the scripture? Suzy, Joni was allowed to marry only in the Lord, but Doug left his wife without any biblical reasons. That divorce to his wife, the Lord does not consider that as a divorce. Like, no. If you're marrying this woman, then you are causing Joni and you yourself to be committing adultery according to the scriptures. You cannot just walk away from your marriage, okay? Marriage is a covenant, especially for no reason. But we continue, guys, okay? Jonathan countered that it was his responsibility as a man who must hold to his conviction and as the vice president of Daystar who has a fiduciary responsibility on the board. But Evans doubled down, repeatedly saying they must submit to Joni. Why? Because when she says something at Daystar, it's like God said it. Hold on. Joni, when she says something at Daystar, it's like God says it. These people are worshiping Joni. Guys, that's blasphemy. So, Jimmy Evans, you are out here preaching, but you're out here blaspheming. For what? For Joni? Wow. Hey, we continue, guys. Yeah, you read that right. God said it. Blasphemous of the highest order. In another heated discussion, Joni warned Jonathan and Suzy that if they didn't submit, God might curse them. She went on to explain that rebellion to her authority was an act of witchcraft. Hold on. Who are you, Jimmy Evans? So, like this is manipulation, guys, okay? You are to honor your parents. Jonathan and Suzy, they are adults. They are to honor their parents. That's what the Bible teaches, right? Honor your parents. It does not have an expiration date, okay? But you note when they are doing something that is evil, let alone these people, like, yes, the sin of rebellion is like the sin of witchcraft. And then Joni is going to curse her own children? Like, for what? Because they're not praising the husband she married. If she read her Bible, she shouldn't have married. She shouldn't have agreed to marry that guy because that guy left his wife. Okay? So no, she was free to marry, for sure. She was free to marry, honor in the Lord. But definitely not marrying this guy, okay? That was, it's unbiblical marriage according to the scriptures. But this is too much. But guys, this is crazy. Let's continue. And to make matters worse, John said their 2 young children might be cursed too. Why would Joni curse her own grandchildren? This is manipulation on the highest level, okay? On the highest order of manipulative. First, it says, if Joni says something, it's like God is speaking. Then second, this Joni is going to curse your 2 children. Why? Why would a grandmother curse her own children? This is what you're getting from Daystar. Honestly, they need to change the name. Okay? Despite the ominous threats, Suzy stood firm. So ultimately, she was fired for not being, quote-unquote, submissive to Joni. Obeying the voice of God and all that. Oh, wow. Because Suzy was let go in July. And it didn't stop there. Suzy's mother and father were placed on the chopping block too. Oh, wow. So they punished Suzy and as well as her parents. With questionable cause, their jobs as the leaders on the prayer team were terminated. This is crazy. Guys, we continue. Okay. In the meantime, Suzy was unable to comprehend what was happening and for a moment believed she could refocus leaders back to the original intent of the ministry. One day she said, Jesus died for people, not for $1 billion. So these people are literally, they're all about business. Okay? They're all about business. You see when we get the another reporting with their finances, how they roll out there. So this actually makes sense because there's other information that supports this. Okay? But we continue. Then one morning, Jonathan observed network surveillance footage as a security guard attached something to his car. He had the police check it out, and a tracker was found. He came to the quick realization Daystar was following his every move. Joni, she's the president of Daystar. So who can have the audacity to put a tracker on her son's vehicle? Who had that authority to do that? And by the way, why are you following your son? He's an adult. Does that make sense? When Jonathan confronted the guard, the officer adamantly denied it was a tracker. Come on, man. Afterward, it was announced that additional devices were placed on other company vehicles, which appeared to some as cover. Why are they putting that? This is a ministry organization. How many cars do they have? But we continue, guys. In addition, a private investigator was caught on multiple occasions following Jonathan, Suzy, and their young children. Life at Daystar, when one wasn't in submission, was starting to get crazy. Oh, no, this has left the crazy train long time ago. Okay? No, this is something else. The criminal charges can be filed for some of these things. All right, guys, we continue. While hiring a private investigator or tracking an industry-owned car is not illegal, to many it revealed panic-stricken leadership attempting to maintain control in a twisted environment. Yeah, I mean, you can let your employees know. So that way, they're only using their vehicles for ministry purposes, okay? So they're not out there using, their personal reason with a ministry car. Like people know, they drive government cars, they know this is just a government vehicle, then you have your private vehicle. They should have just communicated that. And Jonathan was the vice president of Daystar. Sure, he should have been privy to that information. But let's continue. But it only got worse. When Jonathan received an official call from the network, he was told several messages had come in from an unidentified man threatening to violently, Suzy. Okay? We are on YouTube here. At first, Suzy believed the reports and became terrified of leaving her house. She would often collapse on the floor while praying that if she was going to be killed, it would be quick and her children wouldn't be the ones to find her body. But eventually, Suzy's fear lifted as close friends questioned if the message might be coming from someone on the inside, perhaps as a form of intimidation, to not only stop her from talking, but to persuade her to return to the fort where she might feel, quote-unquote, protected. I don't know, Candy, she said to me, but I would worked at Daystar for years and I would never received a single threat before. Besides accusations of witchcraft, endless demands of submission, and threats of impending curses, it was obvious Jonathan and Suzy could not be controlled. So Daystar went into overdrive to lock down outgoing information. They are treating Suzy and Jonathan like 2-year-olds. But we continue. Trustees and key employees, including Lamb family members and their spouses, were given a mandate to sign non-disclosure agreements because, as many believed, NDAs keep secrets hidden deep inside an institution. Under the contract, they could not talk about perceived improprieties or anything negative they observed, and Daystar for threats of being fired and or sued. So, this part over here, as far as the NDA situation, that's true. Why? Because we have audio of the executives, right, at Daystar asking Jonathan to sign an NDA. And if he doesn't sign, that will automatically trigger his firing. So that information, we definitely have it. That is definitely corroborated with the people who are doing it, okay? I did a video. It's already on my channel. You can avail for it. It's like a 2-minute video where, Jonathan is asked to sign the NDA. And he refused, and he lost his job. He was asked to sign on November 15th. He was let go on November 16th. So that information does match up with the video, with recording audio of him being asked to sign in a disclosure agreement with the executives at Daystar, and I think a lawyer might have been present as well. So that is, that we can verify for sure with no difficulty at all. But guys, there is more. Let's continue. All right. When Jonathan refused to sign his position as vice president of Daystar was terminated, and he was kicked off the board where he had access to vice financial information. Like I said, that is definitely verified. Care to guess where Jonathan Lamb was transferred? Besides being assigned to a couple small departments, his mother put him in charge of the Daystar Cafe. The cafe. Come on, guys. You were the vice president, second in charge, one step removed from you being in charge of the entire empire. Now they're going to remove you from that corner office all the way, to the basement where they have the cafe, people coming down, getting some coffee and everything. I mean, there's nothing wrong with somebody, that's their job, that's what they're working, okay? But you can see, like they are removing him from the office, they're sending him to cafe, not to work at the cafe to save people there, but they're sending him there as a punishment, okay? As a punishment. That's the point. Okay, that's the point. You can work, as long as you're working an honorable, honest job, it's fine. But this, you can see that it's coming, this is a punishment. To go from vice president of a $1 billion network and a member of the board to managing an eatery wage as a huge demotion, that some perceived as a veiled message. If you do this to my own son, don't think for a moment you won't be next. Yeah, man. Joni Lamb ain't playing. And this is her firstborn son. We continue, guys. So it's not surprising. Near everyone got in line. Sign NDAs, shut their mouths, and keep the paychecks rolling. Yep. That's it. That's exactly what's going to happen at Daystar. If you want to work there, you keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, and do your job. That's it. And do whatever you're told. So these guys didn't want to do it. And right now, they are facing the wrath of Joni Lamb. They are mommy. All right, guys, we continue. And speaking of money, now that Jonathan is off the board and can no longer monitor spending, perhaps it's time to open the books at Daystar. A minister that paid $100,000 honeymoon and possesses a private jet often used for extravagant personal travel so it can undergo a deep dive independent forensic audit. An audit, however, is unlikely. Why? Because Daystar is not registered as a ministry, nonprofit. Instead, Daystar is registered as a church. This allows them to additional levels of financial privacy, including not having to disclose certain expenditures via 990 to the IRS. Yes, guys, this information is actually true. So legally, yes, you can operate a network as a church. And, even the IRS can designate that. So long as you follow certain 14 points, you're good to go. But the IRS don't even enforce those things. So we have that article for you that you'll be like, man, what is it? We need the IRS, it needs to be reformed. Okay? How about defund the IRS? If this is what's happening. All right, we continue. Or to the public. And now back to the alleged on a 5-year-old child. In February of 2024, Jonathan and Suzy were given additional confirming information, consequently, along with their new counselors. They reached out to Child Protective Services, where the case was immediately opened. So all things considered, you might wonder what took Jonathan and Suzy so long to go public. Yes, that's the question that everybody is asking. Let's see. It's helpful to remember they both grew up in ministry. They were taught that submitting to authority is an act of spiritual purity. This is all they knew. I believe Jonathan and Suzy are good people who love God and respect authority. But quite honestly, they were also naive. Crippled by warped theology, they were blindsided by the behavior of family manipulative ministers and threatening lawyers who put them in a state of shock for a couple of years. In the meantime, Jonathan and Suzy waited on God and they prayed, seeking wisdom for when and how to share their story. Then we made something we consider providence. Intimidation, belittling, the sit down from famous pastors and high-powered attorneys have frightened Suzy Lamb long enough. But guess what? She isn't afraid anymore. As for Jonathan, even though this is his family and ministry, he watched grow from time he was an infant. He made the courageous decision and great personal cost to stand for integrity. And the Child A report, although the initial investigation stalled, it has now moved up the ladder to the office of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Okay, that's good. Fast forward to now, on Friday night, November 15, an investigative reporter who had been working on the Child A story for a few months contacted Daron Lamb and other family members to request comment for an upcoming article. The next afternoon, Jonathan and Suzy, who were hidden away with their children at an undisclosed safe location, observed video from their home security monitor. They watched as a DayStar guard, the same one who had put a tracker on their car, showed up in a bulletproof vest to leave an official letter on their door. A few minutes later, Jonathan was sent an email informing him that he had been fired over unmet ministry expectations set for himself several months prior. Notably, the termination occurred the day after Daron Lamb was contacted by the press regarding claims of a Child A cover-up. The letter also included warnings that if Jonathan or Suzy spoke to any third-party individuals, e.g. the media, they'll be opening themselves up to a lawsuit. I find enough truth eventually rises to the surface in God's timing. And if people are brave, yes, he is patient and he is gracious. But at some point, if we love God, and I believe leaders at DayStar actually do, but stop fearing him, he has ways of shining light on the darkness if we are unwilling to do it ourselves. Make no mistake about it, this gut-wrenching exposure is not the result of bitter individuals getting even, although DayStar will likely spin it that way, but rather it's the result of Jesus flipping tables. Brace for impact, people. Nothing can stop what's coming. Candy Chad is a writer from Cave Creek, Arizona. She's been interviewed by PBS, Fox and Friends, and the New York Times. Follow her on X, okay? Suzy Lamb's podcast, where she addresses this and other issues within the ministry, is available on multiple platforms. So be sure to subscribe to her. We did that video where Joni and where Jonathan and Suzy explained why they were in hiding. So we have that available. So as we were reading the story, okay, Jimmy Evans' name came up. Okay, so this is Jimmy Evans, guys. Okay, this is Jimmy Evans, the one who was telling Jonathan and Suzy that they need to obey, because when Joni speaks, it's as if God himself has spoken. If they're not submitting, she's going to curse them. And not only that, she's also going to curse their children. So this is Jimmy Evans. Okay? And he's the one who blessed Doug Weiss and Johnny Lamb's wedding. So let's take a look at this gentleman here, guys. Okay?
Because there's family and stuff, and we want to be careful. But when I talked to him, what I was trying to measure was, is this guy just a snowflake who's experiencing some problems and he's going to buck out of the chute, trying to find an easy answer? Or is he being damaged? Is this a person who is stranded in a relationship that there's no hope, whatever? And in the conversation that I had with him, I was very quickly convinced that this was a very painful, devastating, damaging relationship that he was in, and that he had a biblical reason for leaving, and he endured this now for decades. This is not something that he easily left or quickly left. And so in my heart, after walking with you guys have been very accountable to me since the very beginning. This man has been very accountable to me, regularly lets me know what's going on in you guys' relationship. And
so this is Jimmy Evans, okay, coming in on the record to say that Doug Weiss is clean as a whistle. That Doug Weiss was free to leave his wife because he was going through a lot in his wife. And by the way, Doug Weiss was a marriage counselor, okay, as well as an ACE therapist. So how is it that you are a counselor? You are counseling people in their marriages, and then you actually being the one who, quote unquote, having issues in your marriage, let alone leaving your wife? What happened to your counseling? I don't buy it. I do not buy it for a second, okay? I do not buy it for a second. So whatever issues that they were having, they had. It wasn't enough for him to be able to seek, to be able to get counseling, to be able to get the help. No. Run for Joni, okay? If Joni was not the president of Daystar, would Doug Weiss, would he have left his wife? We are wondering.